Center has outlined, or excuse me, the National Weather Service and Hurricane Center have outlined where those hurricane warnings are in existence. That's because they were expecting hurricane-force gusts to be felt right along the coast of Pasco, Hernando, and Citrus counties. And we've even seen some very strong winds down off of coastal Pinellas and coastal, I believe that was Manatee County. Egmont Key specifically with the 81-mile-per-hour gust earlier this evening. Wind speeds, very widespread tropical storm force wind gusts. These have extended very far away from this storm, which will likely go down as one of the largest that we've had in the Gulf of Mexico. Not the largest, but one of the larger systems that we've had in terms of size and scale and just how quickly that it ramped up. As this pushes through by...
All right, we were just listening into some of Fox 13 Tampa's coverage there of Hurricane Helene. Of course, very important that we're giving you the very latest of everything that is happening with the hurricane. Of course, we now know it is a Category 4 at this point. It's not just going to be impacting areas there in Florida as well. As we take a look at our radar, you can see that another one of those states that is in the line of the storm is Georgia. It is still anticipated to be a hurricane strength. The storm will be by the time it enters the state. So to talk more about this, I now want to bring in Fox's Caroline Elliott. She's there in Valdosta, Georgia. Caroline, what can you tell us about the way that those conditions have deteriorated over the last few hours? As you know, Georgia and Valdosta and areas like that are in the path of this major hurricane.
Yeah, Christina, over the last couple hours, we have seen some light rain, some light wind, but conditions are expected to get a lot worse over the next few hours as we are expecting landfall to be around 11 p.m. tonight Eastern time. So again, we're still preparing for the worst in this area. Now, we do know in the last couple minutes, the city of Valdosta did start a city-wide curfew, asking every person here to shelter in place. They're also asking people that live in mobile homes to get out right now and find a safer place, somewhere you can stay tonight to ride out the storm, or even one of the shelters in the city, but telling people that mobile homes are not safe tonight. Again, we are expecting some major flooding in this area, as well as winds of up to 100 miles per hour. So that's really the biggest concern right now, even though we are still several hours away from landfall right now. I think the nerves and anxiety really settling in for people who live here, because this region could look a lot differently come sunrise tomorrow. Christina?
And Caroline, you just mentioned that they did say in the state there that these mobile homes aren't safe to stay in. What can you see right now at this hour? Clearly outside, is the rain already coming down in that area? Have the winds picked up? How are you feeling as the storm is now getting closer and closer to rolling in?
Yeah, Christina. Well, right now, again, conditions aren't horrible. They are expected to get a lot worse overnight. But I will tell you, in the last couple hours, we have seen a lot of rain and some heavy winds in this area. Not, of course, 100-mile-per-hour winds like we are expecting a little bit later, but some strong wind gusts here and there. I will tell you, one concern in this city is this entire region, really, all throughout Georgia. We saw some really rough storms yesterday. We saw 4 to 5 inches in the Atlanta area and a lot of rain down south as well. So right now the soil is really saturated in this area, which is, of course, very dangerous and really prime conditions for any trees to topple over, of course, causing a lot of damage to homes or structures in this area. So that's really a big concern, because, again, this area got hit with some rain before this hurricane will even make landfall. Christina?
Caroline Elliott live there in Valdosta, Georgia, as there is a citywide curfew issued. Caroline, stay safe as you ride out the remainder of this storm. We'll continue to check in with you and get an update on those conditions in Georgia as the night goes on. Thanks to Caroline Elliott for giving us the latest there. Again, with the latest on those storm conditions in several parts of these areas, we know, of course, that this is not the only area in Florida that will be getting hit, as we just got that update from Georgia. North Carolina is also already experiencing flooding at this point in the evening. So we're keeping a close eye on this storm as it is rapidly approaching the coast of Florida. Let's step away for a 2-minute break, but on the other side, our coverage of Hurricane Helene, now a Category 4 storm, continues. Stay with us here on Live Now. Welcome into Live Now from Fox. I'm your host, Christina Evans. We're continuing our coverage here on Live Now with Hurricane Helene as it is rapidly strengthened into a Category 4 hurricane, and it is approaching the coast of Florida, expected to hit in that Big Bend area as a Category 4 storm with life-threatening wind and storm surges as well. So we're keeping a close eye on everything that is happening there with the storm. I also do want to show you right now a live look there in Tampa as we're taking a look. Of course, it is nightfall. The time is right around 9. I should say it's right around 8 o'clock there on the East Coast. And with our camera here, you can see it is wet from all of that rainfall and shaking from the force of the wind as we're overlooking the city of Tampa. So again, something that we're keeping a close eye on here with all of these storm issues. So it's going to be moving into Georgia and then causing flooding in other surrounding states such as North Carolina and South Carolina as well. So
keeping a close eye on everything that's happening with the storms, I do want to now turn our coverage back to Fox 13 there in Tampa. Let's listen in to what they have to say about the latest on the storm right here on Live Now from Fox.
They can't help you if you find yourself inundated with water. They say as soon as conditions improve, that's when they can come to you. So you might just have to ride this out if you decided to stay behind, and we hope you are safe. This video from Gulfport, you've seen this scene before right there along the coastal street where many of the bars and restaurants are. This shows just how unsanitary the water is right now. You can see the debris floating around in it. This is exactly why they say do not swim in that storm surge, or don't try to walk through it, certainly barefooted or anything, because you just don't know what is in that water. Definitely some bacteria and Lord knows what else. Fox 13's Jordan Bowen covering Pinellas County for us tonight. Jordan, we are just, as it's dark now, it's getting harder for us to get these pictures, these ideas. A tough time for this storm surge to hit. But what have you noticed there in downtown St. Pete?
Yeah, Chris, we are here in downtown St. Pete. We're right in front of the St. Pete Yacht Club, and you can see here behind me the water is covering the roads. It's dark, so just take a minute. It'll just take a minute for you to see, but at least a foot or two of water on this road right in front of the St. Pete Yacht Club. This is right by the St. Pete Pier where all of the boats are stationed at. We have been out here for the last few hours or so, and in the last 2 hours, the water has rose at least a foot or two. It's right up now here to the steps here you can see at the Yacht Club. We're now zooming out to the water, and about 6 o'clock tonight, the water was at the same level of the sidewalk and was coming up over the sidewalk. We saw some cars driving over this water earlier tonight, and about 10 minutes ago, I saw another car out here trying to drive over this road. It ended up backing up, reversing, and going around the other way. And then there's several police officers out here blocking the access to the St. Pete Pier. That's been closed off for the last few hours here. And I'm out here. Albert's going to pan over here in a second and just show you just how deep the water is out here where I'm out. This is right in front of the St. Pete Yacht Club here in downtown St. Pete, and I'm right up to where my boots go. And there's at least about 3 feet of water here. You can see the St. Pete Yacht Club here. There's water up to the door there. I was out here about 2 hours ago, and there's at least a foot or two more of water here, and it continues to rise. The winds have settled down just a little bit since we were at the beach earlier today. The flooding and the water is really the big story right now. We were out here about 20 minutes ago, and all the power shut off to the left of us towards the pier. There's still some power on here at downtown St. Pete, here at the Yacht Club. You can see behind me, there's several police officers down here monitoring things to make sure people are safe. But for right now, the main concern is the water coming up right here to the steps, maybe a foot or two to the next step here at the St. Pete Yacht Club. That's the latest here in St. Pete. And we also do want to mention, we mentioned this at 6 o'clock, but some important information to mention about storm surge. We know that the St. Pete mayor said if it reaches above 7 feet at a specific facility, they would have to turn off that water. And for residents who live north of that facility, that would mean water, without water for 2 days. We're going to continue to follow that development for you and keep you guys updated on that. But that's the very latest right now here in downtown St. Pete. Guys, back to you.
Yeah, Jordan, thank you for that look there. Again, we're probably about 3 hours away from high high tide, which combined with the storm surge, it's going to make that situation worse. So we'll check back in with you later. Stay safe, obviously. Jordan, thank you. Another look now at what conditions are like in St. Petersburg. Viewers sent us this video of a dock that the viewer said is barely staying attached. Oh, yeah, I can see it there. Really kind of hanging on as it's getting rocked by the rough water. This was at the Boca Ciega Point condominiums. That's right there, not far from where Jordan is in Gulfport. I'm sorry, Jordan was in downtown St. Pete, but this is not far from Gulfport along the Gulf Coast Intracoastal Waterway.
And Pasco County. All right. Thank you for staying with us here on Live Now from Fox. That was just some of our coverage there from Fox 13. Obviously, they are keeping a close eye on this storm as it is now zeroing in there on the Florida coast. So other impacts that are going to be felt by this storm as well is Georgia. As we bring up a good look here at our radar, you can see how close the end of Georgia is to the coast of Florida, where this hurricane will be coming up near Tallahassee as well. And another one of those cities that is in the path of the storm is Columbus, Georgia. So we now want to bring in the mayor, Skip Henderson there. He is going to give us the latest on everything that is happening as far as preparations. Skip, we know that, of course, Georgia has experienced a lot of rain over the last few days, but this hurricane is rapidly heading towards you all. What are you doing in the city of Columbus to make sure that all residents are safe?
And, you know, Christina, thanks for having me. That is the biggest concern right now is with all the water we had yesterday. We had 2 or 3 inches yesterday ahead of this storm. So now when the gusts hit, those root balls on the tree are going to be kind of unstable, and we're worried more about downed trees and power lines. But our group's been working for the last 3 days on doing everything we can to make sure that the people of this area are safe. And of course, the number one thing we want to get across to them is don't take to the roads. Unless you're in a dire emergency, just stay home. But we've been staging barricades out at frequently flooded areas. We have been getting our public safety people up. We've got our engineering department to man some of the signals. And of course, the power companies have been terrific to work with in keeping us updated on everything that they're doing. They are staged and ready to go. As I stated, our biggest concern is, frankly, down power lines and trees.
And as you said, down power lines and trees are going to be one of those bigger issues. Of course, folks, in Columbus, it is a rural area in comparison to cities like Atlanta in the state of Georgia. So a lot of back roads as well. Have you been warning those residents to stay off the road for the next few days? And what is the response going to be like going into the next hours after the storm rolls through for the city to be able to remove any debris and start shoring up those power lines to make sure that everyone is in a safe position?
Yeah, well, we've got Columbus is actually Georgia's second largest city, so we've got a little bit of rural, and we've got a lot of metro area as well. So the cleanup is what we're going to have to deal with, and early tomorrow we'll get started, and we'll immediately go out and make an assessment. We've opened our emergency operations center, and our Homeland Security Director and public and safety director has been working hand in hand to make sure that we've got everything ready to try to start clearing those debris. We've even hired a private vendor to be on standby to make sure that we can get the streets passable. We plan on our folks coming into work tomorrow, maybe a little later than normal, but it'll be business as usual at the city government.
Business as usual for the city government. We also know that President Biden has allocated federal funds as well for the state of Georgia. As it is under a state of emergency, is there any other message that you really want to get out to the residents of Georgia or people who are watching who may have families there in the Columbus area?
Yeah, I think heed the advice of the individuals that have been telling them to stay put. Don't get out on the roads. You just try to make sure that you kind of bunker down and wait for this to pass. We have actually declared a local state of emergency as of 3 o'clock today, just so that the additional resources that brings to us, makes available for us, won't be delayed in the event we have to access those.
Absolutely. This is Mayor Skip Henderson there in Columbus, Georgia, working hard to make sure that the people of Georgia are also safe during this major hurricane. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Christina.
Absolutely. And here on Live Now from Fox, like I said, we are continuing to track everything that is happening with this major hurricane. We want to step away now for a 2-minute break, but on the other side, we're going to continue with our coverage, bringing you the latest of Category 4 storm Hurricane Helene. Welcome into Live Now from Fox. I'm your host, Christina Evans. Again, we are continuing to track the latest with Hurricane Helene. Let's jump back into some of our local coverage that we now have. This is Fox 13 there in Tampa. They're giving an update on what they are now anticipating as this storm quickly approaches the time when it will make landfall.
Much more scary.
Yeah,
it's intense. Intense is a good word.
That is. Yeah, let's go through the tides, storm surge too here, because I think that's the scary part. Is that this is the worst of the storm surge is going to be overnight here when people are.
The middle number on all of is really what matters, because the low tide has gone by, except for Crystal River. Yeah, that's gone by too. So you get a high Cedar Key, 11:35. The Crystal River, 4:02 a.m. High tide Clearwater coming up in 3 hours. So the water's coming in. High tide Tampa Bay at 2:57. So we're in the point now where on its own.
The really big thing right now is that Pinellas County officially has that shelter in place, and there are people, I've been on social media looking at a lot of people who are saying, oh, I finally decided to stop looking at the beach. When we were driving by earlier, there were a lot of people out there still looking. Pinellas County is saying that is not safe to do because we have that storm surge. That's a really, really big factor into this storm, and it's just not safe to do so. And as I mentioned earlier, this right here is closed off, and it will remain closed off because as it's now dark, you also don't know what you may be driving into. As you can see, this truck right here has had to turn because you are not getting through. The only people who have been able to make it through over here are the ones who have the lights on their truck, law enforcement and other first responders. Reporting live, Jada Williams, ABC Action News.
Jada, thank you, and it's nice to hear that folks out there are heeding the warnings. I do want to mention, unfortunately, that breaking news. We talked about a crash in Hillsborough County on I-4 West. That is, in fact, a fatality. And if you're just joining us, we were told that a sign actually fell on top of a vehicle. This, again, is on I-4. The ramp from 21st Street on
The west side, I believe, is now closed. Crews, of course, on the scene trying to clean up what happened. But in fact, the driver did die in that accident. We will try to give you more information as we get that I-4 area cleaned up. Meanwhile, we want to go to Pasco County now. Julie Salomone is in Hudson for us out there. Julie, I know we're entering the time where, of course, like many other counties, it's high alert. Really, you need to stay in place wherever you are. Do not evacuate because the fact that it's so dark out now, the flooding and the surge is rising, and you just don't know what you could.
Wacht, 1 seconde tot hij zijn deur dicht heeft.
Vrienden, welkom bij weer een nieuw seizoen van Boos. We zijn weer terug en we gaan weer deuren intrappen, de moeilijke vragen stellen en alles uit de kast halen om jouw problemen op te lossen. Met deze week hoe fatbikeverkoper La Souris illegale fatbikes verkocht aan hun klanten en onderdeel werd van een strafrechtelijk onderzoek.
Maar wij hebben zelf ook onderzoek gedaan. Ja. En op basis van dat onderzoek zullen wij met wij hebben zelf onderzoek gedaan.
En de gedupeerden deze week, dat zijn mogelijk duizenden klanten. En dus aan ons de taak om aan het werk te gaan. Dus dat gaan we doen. Ja, welkom bij een nieuwe boot.
Says his goal is to make sure his citizens can move back to their home.